MSNBC, and he praised the State of the Union address. And he got into it a little bit with Mika Brzezinski because he just wanted to judge the speech based on its merits.
Why can't people give him credit for what has happened? Why can't they give him credit for a speech that went, that people had a chance to see? If you're a Democrat, there's something there for you. If you're a Republican, there's something there for you. That it had specifics.
I think because he's literally screwed everybody in that room over a few times too many. He's been vulgar. He's been racist. He has accused one of the senators in that room of giving sexual favors for money. He's insulted the wife of a Republican senator in that room in the worst way possible.
What about the speech?
Your job, what you do, Frank, is you read rooms. You tell me that room is supposed to respond like this to the great dictator?
No, but they're not supposed to sit on their hands.
Really?
And I'm sorry,
I'm not sure.
Using the phrase great dictator is not appropriate.
Well, that's how he feels of himself.
This is my challenge, which is I'm willing to speak truth to power. I'm willing to challenge him, but I'm not willing to dismiss everything in him.
And good for him, because that's generally the way that I look at the Trump presidency and the Trump campaign and the Trump win was, look, whether or not I like certain aspects of the president's personality, and I clearly dislike a lot of the aspects of his personality. I cringe when he sends tweets. I'm not going to allow that to shade every single time I see him do something that I might otherwise like. I'm just not going to do that. That's an unhinged and unreasonable position to take. If he says or does something I like, I'm going to 100% support him. If he says or does something I dislike, I'm likewise going to 100% dismiss it. But just because he does something I don't like, even if I really, really don't like it, doesn't mean that I'm not going to give credit where credit's due. I'm not a crazy MSNBC, CNN, or NBC analyst. That's not what I do. Now, Fox News did really, really well. Jacob was one of the only people who were watching Newsmax TV, where Bill O'Reilly was actually performing for the first time in a major way some analysis. He was on Newsmax television, and he provided this bit of commentary.
I didn't think the Trump speech was flat so much.
Why all of a sudden does he talk so casually? Have you noticed that? Since they got rid of him as the host, he's like, just leans back. No, I'm not exactly so sure that's what he said.
I think he had some emotion in it, particularly when he told the stories of the people that had been invited. It was better watching it on television than being there, because you saw Nancy Pelosi look like she was sitting on a nail. And there was something the matter with her dentures. I didn't know. And I thought it was striking that when President Trump was talking about the lowest black employment in 45 years, none of the black congressmen on the Democratic side applauded. I guess they don't like that.
So bad. Media is saying that that was a huge disaster for Bill O'Reilly and Newsmax because they averaged 11,000 households for their State of the Union coverage. Now, I will say this, because I don't like Bill O'Reilly at all. I actually like some of the Newsmax content that I've seen, at least, but it's not like a destination for me, their website. Do you know what channel Newsmax TV is on? Do we have Newsmax TV?
I was going to
Do you have to get like a satellite? Like, no one has Newsmax TV, so I'm not sure it's fair for Media.com to call them out as failures when, for all I know, that could be a success given how. What if they're only on in 12,000 households? Right? I mean, like, it's clearly a low number, but who has this network? We've got a whole bunch of networks that we have, and we don't even realize we have them, and we're not watching it. So I don't necessarily know if this was a fair bit of criticism. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Happening now.
Fox News is now reporting that a source in the White House is confirming that President Trump will be allowing the declassification and release of the memo that supposedly shows surveillance abuses against the campaign, against the Republicans, coming from an FBI and Department of Justice that potentially used the Trump dossier information to get a warrant, a FISA warrant, to surveil Americans, surveil campaign staffers within the Trump campaign, including Carter Page, one of the advisors at the time. Now, I don't know what's in the memo. Republican altered the memo in a way before sending it off to the president and trying to declassify. I have no idea as to what is truthful or not, but I will say this. Number one, everyone is overselling and overstating what can potentially be in this memo. I'm willing to bet that. I'm just willing to bet you that we are overstating on the right what's in this memo, and you're going to make an ass of yourself if you end up finding out that this memo isn't all that important and is clearly written in a way that is partisan, and you'll try to make a big deal out of it. You shouldn't. So how about this? I'd rather be surprised by how impactful this memo is rather than overstate its importance. Yet at the exact same time, this was sort of a point that Noah Rothman made over in Commentary Magazine. He's going to be on the show tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. that the issues that are raised by Republicans here and how the FBI and the Department of Justice may have violated the tenets of what they should be based on, which is an unbiased report, an unbiased investigation into facts, that should scare everybody. This should not be a Republican-Democratic issue. If you decided to use, if it is in fact true that the FBI or the DOJ used the Trump dossier, which was paid for by Democrats, to open up a surveillance investigation into an American campaign worker for the Republican candidate, that should alarm you, and we should absolutely know about that. And if that's what's in this memo, it should 100% be put out there. And Democrats should put out their own memo if they need to as well. If anything's in this memo that is incorrect, the Republicans should not get in the way of it. I understand why they might want to block the Democratic memos just so that the Republican one gets some news coverage and doesn't get immediately pushed aside because of the Democratic memo, which would likely happen because CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times will focus more on the Democratic memo than they will on the Republican one. So I understand why they're doing that, but it should be released. All of this stuff should be released. Redact the stuff that legitimately does some potential damage to national security. I don't know what's in there that does that. No one is giving even any clear indication what that is, because as much as the Republicans are overstating the memo, the Democrats are overstating the impacts as well. Oh, it's going to bring down the Republican, as we know. No, it's not. Just everyone relax. Let's just read the stupid thing, figure it out. It seems like the reporting suggests we're going to get it tomorrow. And if we do, it's going to be a busy show. You're listening to the Jason Ryan, so time to get your work for the right way with Right Way Traffic.
Good morning. The Valley Freeway remains a tough drive from 410 to 18. And then if you're leaving Redton heading into Bellevue, that's a 45-minute travel time. About 25 minutes on both westbound floating bridges as you head into Seattle. Linwood to either Bellevue or Seattle, taking you right around 45 minutes. This report brought to you by the Seattle RV Show. Let's go to the Seattle RV Show, February 8th through the 11th at CenturyLink Field Event Center. Presented by WSECU. Free parking when you buy tickets at SeattleRVShow.com. At AM 770 KTTH Traffic, I'm Emery Martin.
Liberals want to destroy.
And clearly, as we see, it's not foolproof. It has to tie into other assets, such as naval assets that are on the sea and other military air assets in order to make it more effective.
Now, is this tested on a regular basis, and why is this suddenly in the news?
Well, it's not necessarily tested in the manner that it was this time. This missile came from the air. It wasn't a land-based missile. The land-based missile gives the operators there a lot longer to recognize and to come up with a firing solution. But in this specific test, they said that it was this missile that was delivered from the air, from an airplane. So that tells me they didn't have the same amount of time. So they're obviously pushing the system to see what was going on there, and they likely did it to test to see whether or not it was even capable of picking up a missile that was launched in this manner.
Yeah. Now, I'm all in favor of transparency, but why do we reveal the results of tests like this, especially given the tense situation between us and North Korea? I mean, this just gives them a chance to crow, doesn't it?
No, it does, and you've got to think about what happened last month in Hawaii with the alert system that failed and everything that went along with that. So perhaps this came out through some FOIA act, or they felt the need to put this out there. Right now, we would have hoped that we would have had some successful test here, but given we're getting closer to the Olympics, I think, perhaps there's this implied message of letting everybody know that there is this anti-ballistic missile base that's on Kauai, that we do have capability. So while it still fails, it does represent that we have the capability there.
Can you give us a quick update on the state of this technology? Because I know it has had quite a few. I mean, it's very difficult for a bullet to hit a bullet, essentially. Is this the kind of technology that one could rely on in an actual war?
I'd say not, from a percentage of what we would want on our homeland, for example, especially from an ICBM, something that's coming intercontinentally. While we might have more time to calculate that solution, it's just these systems can easily be overwhelmed. And this one in particular, this is not necessarily a large system. And what I mean by that, its range is somewhat limited. So once it gets inside that purview, that window of opportunity, if it misses its target, then it's likely a hit for whoever's launching it. So I think from the country's perspective, we can't rely on these systems. They are as good as they can be, but they'll have to be tied in again with other naval assets and other air and ground assets in order for them to be more effective.
I also think we should get an update from you on what's going on in Afghanistan. Of course, President Trump came in saying we're going to, what do you say on the State of the Union? Well, anyway, it sounded like we're going to exterminate ISIS. Or the Taliban. Now I'm reading, this is a BBC report, that the Taliban, quote, threaten 70% of Afghanistan. Now, does that represent progress or not?
Well, no, that's a known fact that they own most of Afghanistan outside Kabul. They own the provinces and those areas outside of where U.S. forces have been out for a few years. We still we're going after the Taliban, going after their ways of waging war is our strategy right now. But the president did say something unusual the other day. He said we're not talking to them anymore. Part of the issue of adding military pressure over the past few months, the strategy has been to get the Taliban to the table and negotiate by increased military force. We've got about 15,000, 16,000 soldiers there as well, and contractors, that's the other thing. But the president seemed to have kind of set that back a little bit. We have to see what's going on. The bottom line, though, is the strategy is get them back to the negotiation table in order to try to get some kind of settlement of peace.
But for our operation to work, we have to have the support of at least most of the population. Do we? Do they trust us?
Well, inside the city, the U.S. forces continue to be challenged with a security problem that is just something we haven't seen before. We have to fly literally 1 or 2 miles away. We don't travel on the ground. Protection of the forces so much that we can't afford to let our soldiers even be out in the open. I think they trust us. I just don't believe that the Afghan government is still to the point where the Afghan security forces can protect its own people. And until that happens, the analogies between Afghanistan and Vietnam, to me, get so more similar every day as things go on.
Well, does that mean we have 16,000 there now? Do you have to send more?
No, you won't see us send any more. We won't, I'd say, make that mistake from a historical perspective. I mean, we had 130,000 there at one point when we surged back in 2009. And we did have control of it, but it's one thing to take those provinces, and it's a whole other thing to hold them.
CBS military analyst, retired Army Major Mike Lyons. It is 8:20 on Seattle's Morning News. Here it is, February 1st, and the end of flu season can't come quickly enough. The flu has taken the lives of more than 100 Washingtonians since October. If there's a silver lining to this especially aggressive flu season, it's pushed hospitals and healthcare providers to try new things, to innovate before they're faced with something even worse. CBS medical correspondent Dr. Tara Narula visited the largest healthcare provider in New York State, which treats millions of patients every year, to see its new approach to fighting the flu.
Emergency operations.
It's all hands on deck at the Emergency Operations Unit at Northwell Health on Long Island.
The Suffolk County is being hit hardest.
With cutting-edge flu surveillance system, they can take in information from all their hospitals in almost real time, bypassing the typical 1 to 2 week time lag on information from state and federal health officials.
You'll see, this is up to yesterday. So you're within 24 hours.
As Vice President of Emergency Management, Mary Mahoney says the system is a game changer.
And what types of resources might you send to an area that you see a spike? Things like, do we have enough masks to protect our patients and our families and our staff? A large number of this population is pediatric population. Do we have the appropriate doses of Tamiflu for them if we're going to be treating them with Tamiflu?
This season, at least 39 children have died from flu-related complications in at least 25 states, and that number is expected to rise.
kids are vulnerable because of their immune system. They're young, they haven't been exposed to this before, so their body attacks them full on.
Dr. Eric Gottesman is director of the intensive care unit at North Shore University Hospital. At what point does somebody say, I should get to an emergency room?
You're having problems breathing, becoming lethargic, and coughing up yellow-green, then it's time to get to the emergency room.
Dr. Tara Narula, 8:23, and that's time for real-time traffic on the threes. It's brought to you by Emerald Queen Casino. Here's Chris Sullivan.
And again, we are in relatively good shape out there. Our travel times have come down on most of our routes. Again, the one place that still really isn't having it is the northbound direction of 167. It's still very slow from Puyallup, but you have about 7 miles worth of off and on slowing all the way up through Algona. And again, the maddening part of this is this was all caused by a crash in the opposite direction that just caused enough of a distraction that people in the northbound lanes just slowed down to look at it. But it's about an hour now from Puyallup to Renton, so we've picked up a couple of minutes there, which is good. And we've also eased out of Auburn and Kent. So once you get through that stuff through Algona, it's going to be a much better drive into Renton. And then Renton to Bellevue, if you're continuing up the east side of Lake Washington, you're going to have about a 47-minute drive, which again is a couple minutes over its traditional average. Staying down at Tacoma, northbound I-5, we're seeing a lot of slowing through 72nd, up through 38th again, as one of my Cairo drivers at 98973 texted us, right where it always slows down every day and nothing ever seems to happen there. I mean, that's just a traffic accident alley there between 72nd and 38th up towards Highway 16. And then you get about a 45-minute drive from Federal Way to Seattle's good. About an hour or just under now from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue. Those are good numbers. The lake bridges are seeing some slowing, but certainly manageable and about plus or minus what you would expect. This report brought to you by Emerald Queen Casino, welcoming Ann Wilson of Hart February 9th. Rock and Roll Pioneer Hall of Famer Ann Wilson of Hart at the Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
It is 45 at the Carter Subaru Studio. Light rain around Seattle. And coming up,
this sound can make you hungry, but it can also help you sleep. I'm Jim Shemivan.
Next on Cairo Radio.
Here's my general take on any story like this. I have a bias that is against unions for this very reason. If you do not like what it is they're offering you on the job, get a new job. Kind of sucks, I get it. I understand why you might not want to. You feel comfortable in this position. It's a relatively easy job. It's thankless, but it's relatively easy in the grand scheme of things. If you do not like what it is that they're offering you in this consensual relationship, that you've decided to say, yes, I consent to the terms of the deal. If you don't like it anymore, go somewhere else. Don't hold hostage 12,000 students and their families. Don't hold hostage a company that has chosen already to give you more than they originally thought you were worth. The union president, Phyllis Campano, she said, according to the Seattle Times, bus drivers are the first ones that kids see in the morning, and they have relationships with the students. We want them healthy and happy because bus drivers really affect students before they come into the classroom. We want them taken care of. Can we stop overstating the importance of bus drivers? Bus drivers can be incredibly important in certain circumstances. We did the story last week about one individual who is living with juvenile Huntington's disease. Tanya Decker, the only one who was on the bus, and she created the special bond with the bus driver. That is the rarity. That is the exception to the rule. Most of the time, the bus driver picks you up and takes you back to school, and you're in a bus filled with other kids that you are interacting with, having zero interaction virtually with the actual school bus driver. So let us stop pretending that what you're doing is as important as the teaching. The teaching is incredibly important and way more important than getting that kid into the classroom in the way that you think that they're getting there. They're not having any meaningful moments with you for the most part. Do not like the job? Get a new one. Very simple. Speaking of getting a new job, Scott Kubley is the now former director of the Seattle Department of Transportation. He's in the market for a new job. We're going to find out when we come back whether or not he was fired. You're listening to The Jason Rand Show.
Carl, a patient of 1950dentalimplants.com.
I was born in 1949, so I've seen a lot of good dentists, but Dr. Kalin is the best by far. She's exceptionally talented. You can feel the confidence in her hands. Her office is equipped with the most advanced technology I've seen. Dr. Gesnes is just not a regular dentist. She's doing implants, and she is a regular dentist. It's total dental health care. She's qualified to do everything from regular dental work to all
you, but it also affects your loved one and your entire family. Whether it's having the energy to take the kids to the park or having a fulfilling relationship, it all starts with a healthy you. If you've been having difficulty losing weight, feeling tired, or experiencing low libido, you may have low testosterone, very common in men as they age. The good news is, a visit to Universal Men's Clinic could put you back on the right track.
I'm Dr. Charles Arakaki of the Universal Men's Clinic, where we specialize in treating erectile dysfunction and low testosterone. With modern medicine and the latest technology, our patients experience a high level of care.
Make an appointment before Valentine's Day and bring your spouse or partner. Your office visit will be free. Let Universal Men's Clinic help you live your best life. Call Universal Men's Clinic at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit universalmensclinic.com.
Concerned about running out of money, becoming a burden on loved ones, or ending up in a nursing home? Know your options. Tune in to Aging Options with life planning coach Rajiv Nagaich.
We hope to spend wisely, invest conservatively, but a single healthcare episode can decimate our savings and leave us on the doorstep of a nursing home. Join me and I'll show you how to protect your hard-earned savings, age in your own home, and avoid becoming a burden on loved ones.
Aging Options, Saturday mornings at 10.
Well, in this new year, if you're a veteran or active military and one of your goals in 2018 is buying a home, or if you're looking into a refinance, Best Mortgage, they are the VA loan experts. And Steve Teitler, you'll help all of our veterans and active military take advantage of the benefits they've earned, right?
As you know, we love the military, and we love helping them take advantage of the VA loan program because it's such a great deal. You can buy a home with no money down. And if you already own a home, you can do a cash-out refinance up to 100% of your home's value. And you can pay off a second mortgage if you have one, other debts, and wrap it all into one fixed-rate loan.
And I know for our veterans who have an FHA loan, you can help them refinance into a VA loan much better and saving a lot of money, too.
That's right. Unfortunately, some banks and mortgage companies don't offer the VA loan, and they put our veterans into FHA loans, which is a bad deal. Get out of that mortgage insurance premium. Call us, and we'll get you into a VA loan.
Give them a call, 425-649-6000. That's Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
From the Online Trading Academy studio, this is AM 770 KTTH.
One of my greatest nemesis in Seattle is going to join me in studio. Scott Kubley, the former director of the Seattle Department of Transportation, is going to stop by in a moment. But first, it's time to get you work the right way with Right Way Traffic.
Good morning. Taking a look at travel times around the Puget Sound, Olympia to Tacoma, taking you 35 minutes. Federal Way to Bellevue. That is now a 60-minute travel time. Linwood to either Bellevue or Seattle, about 45 minutes. And it looks like westbound 90 is your slower bridge across the water. It's report brought to you by Compassion International. Becoming a child sponsor with Compassion International can change the world one child at a time. Find out how at compassion.com/radio. At AM 770 KTTH Traffic, I'm Emery Martin.
You're listening to the Jason Rand Show. Several weeks ago, I agreed to a safe driving competition with who would probably be described as my greatest nemesis in Seattle city leadership, Scott Kubley, who up until the last few weeks was the director of the Seattle Department of Transportation, SDOT. Now, the Seattle's Safest Driver competition, with the help of PEMCO Insurance, they were measuring how safely we drive around town, and I was pretty sure I can kick Scott's backside all across the city of Seattle. Joining me in studio to discuss the competition results, which I haven't yet seen, and more importantly, talk about his tenure at SDOT and see what really went on behind the scenes, and talk about the future of transportation in the city, because this will impact you if you're listening to me in Seattle or if you're in Sumner or Yelm or Olympia or Everett. This impacts you. Joining me in studio is the former director, Scott Kubley. Scott, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You've been on the show before, but it's usually in a